There are moments in sports that make the entire world stop. Not because a champion defended a title, but because a name almost no one knew dared to look the world number one straight in the eye and destroyed her right there on the court. What just happened was not a common upset. This was a seismic shock, a match that silenced the entire professional world, caused social media to explode, and forced the tennis industry to ask itself, who truly is the future of this sport? Eala, a 20-year-old from Manila, entered the tournament ranked more than 50 spots lower, barely mentioned. But in just 89 minutes of play, she rendered everything we thought we knew about the ranking system meaningless. Not because her opponent played poorly, but because Alex played as if she was born to win right here. Do you think this was a lucky day? A teenage outburst? Completely wrong. She wasn't taking a chance. She controlled the match. She didn't get lucky. She suffocated the legend across the net with chilling, calculated tactics. What made this match unbelievable is that there was zero chaos. Every shot, every step, every choice Eala made was calculated, as if she had been at this level for the past 10 years. And then there was that down-the-line forehand, so precise it left the world number one frozen, staring at the line as if doubting her own eyes. You can watch hundreds of highlights on TikTok, but you still won't grasp the true spirit of that moment if you don't know the story behind it. The times she felt like giving up, the criticisms that she was too green, and the pressure from an entire nation placing its hopes on her shoulders. So, in this video, Pro Tennis 360 will take you deeper into the backstage of the most shocking victory of 2025. A journey from the hot clay courts of Manila to the blinding lights of the World Tour. And at the 14-minute mark, you won't believe what you are about to see. What are you waiting for? Subscribe to Pro Tennis 360 to not miss the never-before-seen footage of this moment. From Manila to the global stage. Before Eala stunned the global tennis world, she was just a small name on a list of hundreds of young players trying to climb the ranks. But what most audiences don't know is that her journey began long before the spotlight found her. Born in Manila, Eala did not grow up in high-end tennis academies or ATP standard clay courts. She started playing tennis at age 4 on the rough surfaces amidst the humid air of the Philippines. No modern equipment, no media support team, just a racket, balls, and a family that believed their daughter's potential was enough to step out into the world. Early mornings, sweat-soaked shirts, repetitive practices to the point of boredom. But that's where Eala learned the first lesson. Discipline doesn't need an audience to be maintained. When other players her age started getting scholarships from the US, she chose a different path. Harsher, less glamorous, but full of challenge. Joining the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain. And it was there that Alex changed. No longer just the Asian girl with a decent forehand. She became the silent warrior. The one who never gave up a single point, even in practice. Internal matches with young European players taught her a lesson that would later define her playing style. Cruelty can be quiet. When others tried to stand out with noise, Eala chose to win with silence. No shouting, no fist pumping after winning a point. She let the shot speak. And if you are the opponent standing on the other side of the net, that silence is the scariest thing. Many experts say Alex is unnervingly calm for a 20-year-old. But that's not natural. That is the result of thousands of hours of practice in silence, where no one saw it. But it is precisely what built the foundation for one of the greatest debuts in modern women's tennis history. Had you heard the name Eala before that match? If not, you are not alone. But after that match, the world will never forget. The moment the world saw her. Not everyone gets the chance to be seen by the world. And even when they do, not everyone dares to seize it with both hands. But at the qualifying round of this year's WTA Masters Tournament, Eala did just that, without warning, without asking permission. That day, no one in the crowd thought this would be the match of a lifetime. The world number one, a Grand Slam champion, an undefeated icon of the season, stepped onto the court as usual. Focused, confident, almost boring because victory was something everyone defaulted to. On the other side of the net, a young girl tightened her wristband, re-gripped her racket, and said nothing. Right from the first serves, you could feel something different. Not the excited underdog type, but a bone-chilling control. Eala wasn't hitting to keep the rhythm. She was hitting to impose. No breathing room for the opponent, no easy returns. Every shot was calculated like a weapon. When the scoreboard jumped to 3-2, then 6-3, the crowd began to stir. But that was only the tip of the iceberg. The truth is, the audience was witnessing something very rare at age 20. Absolute presence. Eala wasn't playing like a young person with potential. She was playing like someone who knew it was time to take the stage. The stillness in her eyes was captivating. It said, "I know who I am. I don't need a miracle. I just need a chance." And when that down-the-line forehand bounced, leaving the top seed frozen, the entire stadium erupted because of something everyone knew. This was no longer a match. This was a message. And then social media exploded. Highlight clips spread at the speed of a digital earthquake. Commentators paused. Audiences glued their eyes to the screen. Professional players posted with one single message: "She is real." Can a single moment change an entire career? For Alex, that moment didn't just change her. It redefined how we look at potential in tennis. The storm from across the net. But like every great battle, there is always a counterattack. Set 2 did not start like the first. The world #1, who once made opponents crumble after just a few rallies, finally switched to beast mode. Experience emerged. Pride emerged. And you could see it in every heavy, sledgehammer-like backhand. Eala, who had just played as if in total control, began to falter. A double fault, an unforced error, a break lost. The score jumped to 2-4. Commentators began repeating the familiar phrase, "Perhaps it's too soon for a young player." But that's when you realize, Alex is not the type of athlete who collapses under pressure. While the audience held their breath, while the opponent roared like a tsunami, she maintained a calm gaze. No crumbling, no running away, no change in strategy. She just waited for the right moment. And that moment came at 30-30, when the two plunged into a rally that lasted 27 shots. Tense as a wire, neither giving an inch. Every return was a test of physical strength, technique, and nerve. Then suddenly, Eala's forehand landed right on the sideline, light as air, precise as mathematics. The opponent stood motionless. No reaction, disbelieving her eyes. And the stadium exploded. That shot was not just a winner. It was the moment of transition, the breaking point, the moment people often refer to in documentaries. From that second, she never looked back. From there, Eala won 4 consecutive games. No errors, no hesitation, closing the match with a score of 6-3, 6-4. A clean, neat, undeniable victory. And if you think that was the climax, the truth behind the scenes is what earned her the world's respect more than ever before. Victory forged in the shadows. The victory on the court is what millions of people saw. But what we don't see is the real reason Eala became a phenomenon. Because behind the glory were years filled with doubt. People who said she was not strong enough, too soft, will break when facing the big hitters. There's a long list of young players who were once praised, then disappeared without a trace. Alex knew that, and she brought it all onto the court, not as a burden, but as fuel. Pressure came from many sides, from family expectations, from a nation craving a new icon, from the media always ready to find a flaw. But the admirable thing is not that she endured the pressure, but that she transformed it into peak performance. Something even seasoned players sometimes fail to do. No one saw the times she cried in the practice room out of disappointment. No one saw the times she returned to her room with blisters, only to be back on the court at 5 a.m. the next day. No one knows the times she nearly gave up because she felt she would never be enough. But you can see the result of all that in every machine-like, chilling shot, in the way she didn't celebrate loudly after the win, and in her eyes when asked, "How long have you been waiting for this?" She simply replied, "I wasn't waiting. I worked to be here." That is not the answer of someone who was lucky to get through the qualifiers. That is the language of a champion taking her first steps on her own journey. When the world witnesses a birth, There are excellent performances. And then there are performances that make the entire system readjust the map. Less than 24 hours after the win, the name Eala appeared on every major platform. ESPN, BBC, Eurosport, Tennis Channel. Everyone rushing to cut highlights, analyze the serve, talk about how she kept a steel-cold head at age 20. But the truth is, that reaction didn't come from the press first. It came from those in the know. Professional players, both veterans and peers, began posting. Not with empty platitudes, not with formality, but with genuine praise, the kind you only see when they send someone who belongs to the highest level. A former Grand Slam champion wrote simply, "Beast mode." Another wrote, "Remember this name." Perhaps the most impressive thing was the reaction from global fans. People who previously knew nothing about Manila, now suddenly searching for information about where she was born. Compilation videos of Eala's forehands were set to music like a classical deity. Meme pages even started calling her the Manila Marvel. A nickname that sounds playful, but carries an unprecedented sense of pride for millions in Southeast Asia. But while the world was going crazy, Eala remained calm. No self-praising posts. No exaggerated celebration. She appeared at the press conference with a simple face, speaking in a low tone and stating, "Everything is just beginning." In an era where people like to show every little detail, there is a young player who is letting the victory tell her story. Have you ever seen a tennis phenomenon from Southeast Asia like this before? Perhaps not. But after this week, it will be difficult to find anyone more deserving to represent an entire region than Eala, the pride of a nation. If the international community viewed this victory as the surprise of the season for the people of the Philippines, it was a moment that shook the entire country. That day, you could feel something special happening, not from the center court, but from thousands of miles away. Coffee shops in Quezon City turned on their TVs at noon. Malls stopped playing music to broadcast the second set live. On social media, the keyword Eala appeared at an unprecedented speed, accompanied by red, blue, and yellow flags and thousands of proud emojis. She didn't just win for herself. She won for an entire generation. People who once thought success in tennis was reserved only for Europe or America. And when the scoreboard jumped to 6-4, cheers erupted from every street corner. People cried. People waved flags. People said, "We have a champion." Not everyone fully understands tennis rules. But everyone understands the feeling of seeing someone like us step onto the world stage, without having to change their accent, without having to hide their origins, without having to lose their humility. Eala, with all her silence and focus, has become the new ideal role model for Asian youth. No need for noise, no need for protection, just genuine inner strength. It was a resounding victory, not because the opponent was strong, but because the victory conquered global prejudice. Amidst the media storm, there's a small story that touched everyone's heart. A video capturing an elderly grandfather sitting in a small town in northern Philippines, hands trembling, eyes moist, watching his granddaughter win and whispering, "She did it." That clip hit millions of views in hours. That is no longer a tennis story. That is a story of belief. From here on, nothing will ever be the same. When a star rises, the professional world always tends to be cautious. They say, wait a few more tournaments. They say, it might just be a temporary effect. But this time, that is no longer valid. Because Eala didn't just win a match. She made a statement about mindset, about bravery, about the new standard for 20-year-old players. Not long after the match, technical analysts began dissecting every shot. The perfectly open angle, the footwork without a single wasted step, the court reading ability far exceeding her age. A coach who once led 3 top 10 players commented, "If she maintains this composure, she will enter the top 20 within 12 months, maybe even faster." That same week, sports brands began approaching. Fashion houses put Eala on the list of faces to watch in 2026. Her follower count skyrocketed, not because of scandal or lifestyle, but because of genuine ability. That is what modern audiences are craving. Eala also began appearing on major sports podcasts, not just to talk about the win, but about how she deals with expectations, how she maintains her form amidst the wave of attention, and especially how she wants to inspire young players from countries not considered the center of tennis. She doesn't say much, but whenever she speaks, you feel like you are listening to someone who has lived with tennis all their life, not 20 years, but 40 years. And the scary thing is this is only chapter 1, the battle that didn't happen on the court. Most audiences think the match is everything. But for Eala, the real battle begins after the final whistle. Because the bigger the victory, the harsher the spotlight. And when that light shines on a player who is only 20 years old, who has never managed media, never maintained a PR image, never been put into interviews with questions entirely unrelated to tennis, the pressure is not on the score, but on keeping oneself intact. Because immediately after the win, everything changed at the speed of technology. One successful match turned into 27 emails from agencies. One press conference led to dozens of talk show invitations. Brands began competing not for tennis, but for influence. But the strange thing is, Eala did not enter that game. She didn't post empty thank you notes, didn't rush to sign representation contracts, didn't change her style to fit the international image. Instead, she returned to the practice court, boarded a plane to the next tournament, as if nothing had happened. And that is exactly why she is different. An old teammate at the Nadal Academy shared after the win. Alex has never let the attention distract her. She lives to compete. Everything else is just noise. But that composure does not exempt her from pitfalls. The media began digging into her background, starting to build narratives. The Asian heir, the female Nadal, the third world representative player. Those labels can kill development if applied too soon. Eala knows that, and she doesn't fight back with words. She fights back by continuing to win. In the next tournament, though she didn't win the cup, she reached the semifinals and defeated 2 more top 30 players. No one dared to call that initial win luck anymore. No one dared to call her a dark horse. She is the one ushering in a new era, where strength does not come from screaming, but from cold precision, where glory is not measured by fame, but by the ability to silently repeat peak performance. The wordless message. For those who have followed tennis for a long time, there's a very real feeling that we are witnessing the beginning of something bigger than a personal career. Because Eala is not just playing for herself. She plays as if she is rewriting how people perceive origin, age, and who deserves to step onto the grand court. And what resonates with the viewer is not the technique, but the contradiction. On the court, she is sharp, controlled, cold. Off the court, she is camera-shy, speaks little, with gentle eyes. There is something truly human, truly not Hollywood, and that is the sustainable strength. Many athletes burned out like fireworks because they tried to please every expectation. Eala does not. She doesn't smile for the camera, doesn't nod to every piece of praise. She still maintains her slow walk onto the court, still ties her shoes with her left hand, still lifts her face when listening to the national anthem, like a private ritual that needs no sharing. And people begin to understand. Her silence is also a voice. When a reporter asked, "What does this victory say about you?" she simply replied, "I think it says something about perseverance." A simple, non-viral statement, but it lingers more than 1,000 polished quotes. But it is the audience, not Eala, who continues to spread that inspiration. A mother in Indonesia wrote, "I show my daughter Eala not because she won, but because she didn't ask permission to enter the match." An American fan wrote, "She doesn't have to shout to get attention. That's what I admire." And perhaps the true message that Eala leaves behind is not in the shots, but in the presence, that you can be yourself, follow a path no one else drew, and still be good enough to silence the world for a moment. Eala didn't just win a tennis match. She forced the entire sports world to face a difficult question. How much talent have we overlooked just because they didn't come from a familiar place? She didn't come from Paris, didn't learn tennis in Florida, wasn't closely followed by ESPN since age 15, and didn't have a barrage of endorsement deals upon entering the tour. But she did what hundreds of well-funded players have never done. defeated the world number one with the composure of someone who has nothing to lose and doesn't need anyone's permission. The issue is not where she came from, but how the global tennis system has long been accustomed to pre-selecting who the potential candidates are, who deserves the spotlight, who is the good story to tell. And Eala, by silently climbing the scoreboard, flipped that script, not with scandal, not with showbiz, but with pure, raw ability. Perhaps the most memorable thing about this victory is not the score, not the highlight shots, but the audience's gaze. The way they were glued to the screen, not out of curiosity, but out of emotion. Because when we see someone dare to step outside of prejudice, we see our former selves, the ones who once thought we are not enough. Eala didn't try to prove she was special. She only proved that anyone who dares to believe in themselves, no matter where they start, no matter how many times they are doubted, can achieve the seemingly impossible. And if you ever thought tennis was just a game for traditional nations, watch that match again. The 27-minute mark, the 27-shot rally, the line-cutting forehand. That moment is not just sport. It is a symbol of pushing boundaries. The final question is, what happens next? Do you think Eala will climb to the top 10? Or even win a Grand Slam? Leave a comment. And if you want to follow this extraordinary journey to the very last chapter, don't forget to subscribe to Pro Tennis 360. We will be the place to follow her every next move, including footage the press has never revealed.